Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be. Join us on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and inspiration as we explore the world of leadership and personal growth. In each episode, we will explore the art and science of effective leadership, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from experts and thought leaders across various industries. And now your host, Dawn Marie Bornhammer, Maisha B. Hoy, and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be as you lead, empower, inspire, and achieve. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, Editor-in-Chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine.
Hello, leaders. I am Maisha B. Hoy, CEO of BSHG LLC, which manages and markets MaishaLemonadeStand.com, Customer First Marketing, and the Black-owned brand marketplace, Cuba.
And I'm Dawn Marie Bornhammer, Founder and Chief Impact Officer for Mission Inspired Consulting.
And again, we want to welcome you back to Leading with Purpose podcast. And today, I am thrilled to welcome an inspiring, impactful leader in the world of coaching and organizational development. Our guest is an executive coach and organizational consultant who has worked with nearly 800 professionals and facilitated workshops for thousands over the past decade, all with a laser focus on unlocking human potential to drive real business results. Her mission? To elevate people and celebrate culture, because she knows that when individuals are aligned with their purpose, deeply engaged in their work, and supported in their well-being, performance naturally follows. With certifications from Gallup and the International Coaching Federation and CliftonStrengths Top 5 of Achiever, Strategic, Maximizer, Positivity, and Relator, it's no surprise that she's helped organizations measurably improve well-being, engagement, safety, and even sales. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jaclynn Robinson.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that warm welcome.
Absolutely. We are so excited to have you join us today so that we can just dive a little bit into your world of coaching and executive organizational development. I absolutely love this. So let's just dive in. I love the origin story. So please tell us what first inspired your journey into executive coaching and organizational consulting.
Great question. And I would say it started with looking at organizational consulting firms. And I pretty much automatically was just drawn to Gallup because of this philosophy of positive psychology. And I thought, okay, this is a place where I could play with the sociology, the criminology, the psychology. I just love the study of people, if we haven't learned in my introduction. And I thought, this is great. It's a breeding ground of data and analytics and advice. And once I was in the company, I was off, and I just loved every piece of information I could get related to supporting leaders and managers and teams in the workplace. And then executive coaching just kind of, I would say, fell in my lap. I had never really had it on my radar before to be a coach, but I realized I was naturally always coaching people, even as a kid, where I would just always want to pep people up and motivate them. And, oh, what are you going to do? What's your goal? Great job. And they're like, oh, you're so motivational. And so I just really started to recognize in organizational consulting that leaders have so much impact on the workplace. And if we really focus on not just their ambitions, but their alignment, and not just their successes, but their self, it's going to have a ripple effect with other individuals in the workplace. And so that's really how I fell down the path of doing executive coaching for managers and leaders in the workforce.
Now, I love that. Now, would you say that's now a preference for you?
Yes. I love coaching leaders and managers and teams too. If I'm doing workshops and facilitating workshops, I feel like it's coaching in the room and you're doing workshops with managers and teams. So I like to give them some of that that attention to.
Yes,
But I
absolutely.
love executive coaching.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for that.
Well, I love that you said it's the study of people, because you've explored over 50 countries across 6 continents to understand how we people live, work, and cultivate well-being. How has these experiences shaped your approach to organizational and coaching?
Yeah, I really like getting into the why. If it's a person, what's their why for what gets them up in the morning? What is really and truly their motivation where they feel like they're getting enjoyment out of the day? What do they do with ease, excellence, and enjoyment? If it's a manager and a team, what really makes that culture feel engaging and fun? I love just to study the culture of individuals, teams, organizations, and even at that national level. And that's really what international psychology is to sit there and get really curious with what makes a nation a specific culture. What are some of the thoughts, behaviors, and actions as a people that they participate in? And then within an organization, we know it has its own culture. And I see it as its own personality. And so I like to ask the whys of leaders, what type of workplace do you want for your organization? And what's your why? What's your mission and purpose? What do you want people to get up for? And then again, of course, with teams, they have their own respective culture. And then the individual level, the national, the organizational, and then the team all tend to really wrap into our own mindset and the way that we show up in the world. So I would say that's really where international psychology and just all the practice of going to different countries has supported me to say, what do they tend to do? How might I communicate with them? What might be the best way of collaborating with them? What are some methods that they put into practice for well-being that I might be able to share with other folks that are in a completely different country on a different team? And then just getting very curious about people.
I'm curious about people. I'm curious about you in the why, but I really want to know. So, in all these travels, are you finding that leaders are more alike, more aligned, or is that they're really diverse and different?
I would say there's a lot of similar threads in terms of what they're facing in the workplace. And so I think what's been really engaging is they all, at the heart of it, are saying, what can I do to engage my workforce? I'm having trouble with remote, hybrid, and in person. How do I lead with intention and communicate with intention? It doesn't matter if they're from Japan, Singapore, the US, they're all looking for ways that they can lead with more intention and communicate in this globalized world and now in such a remote world. Or they're all, eyes and ears open to what's happening socioeconomically and how that's impacting industries. And now I would say there's more of an interest in how do we stabilize our team? So we're focusing a lot on hope, trust, stability, compassion. How do you offer that and communicate that in the workforce? So I would say there's a lot of commonalities in terms of the topics, but then it feels more individualized in terms of the culture itself, in terms of whether they really want you to kind of steer the ship when it comes to consulting or coaching, or if they want you to kind of really put on the, I would say the brakes where you're more of the passenger and you're just asking a lot of questions and guiding them along the way.
I feel like if they've already asked a question about how they can help their teams, they've already taken a great step towards leadership.
I agree. And when leaders do that and they're engaged, then their managers are 39% more likely to be engaged. And if their managers are engaged, then the teams are 59% more likely to be engaged. So I love when a leader is curious and wants to develop themselves because of that cascade effect that we end up seeing.
Awesome.
Well, I'm curious for you to talk to us a little bit about the combination of rehabilitation and education with specific populations that you have worked with. There's one organization that you partner with that I'm super curious to hear more about. And I just love how you describe it. So I'm going to allow you to walk us through.
Yes. There's some community work I do with a really wonderful organization called Defy Ventures. And I like to describe it as the Shark Tank for the prison system. Because when you've got individuals that want to change their life, and you've got individuals and an educational institution outside of the prison system that wants to support them, it's remarkable what change you end up seeing in the individual themselves and the reduction in reentry. So whenever I think about Defy Ventures, some of the work I do is as a business coach for them. And within the incarceration system, we call them entrepreneurs in training because we want to get away from the label of prisoner or the incarcerated. They still claim their story. And so that's what I think is wonderful is they take accountability for what they used to do or where they came from. And now it's, I'm in a new, I'm stepping onto a new path. And Defy Venture specifically works with Baylor, and they get an entrepreneur certificate. They go through this rigorous program when they're in the institution. For many of them, it's their first time going through a graduation. And when they're in that program, they're doing basically Shark Tank style ideas. So they come up with a business idea that they can realize upon reentry into society. And it's just so wonderful to see the heart that they put into it. And as business coaches, we're there to make sure that it's something that could be feasible and sustainable. It's not something where it would require, let's say, a building or an office space. So it's something that they can put into place and start acquiring income pretty quickly. And I love seeing their eyes light up. And so that for me is really engaging to really coach people. And I always say I coach people from all walks of life. And I think that's a good example of everyone has potential if they're willing to exercise it and maximize it and work with you and work on themselves.
And I love that it ties back to your passion for passion, right? The idea that if we can tap into something that we feel connected to, right? So the idea comes from them. They are birthing that idea. They're sharing it with everyone. It gives them something to focus on, gives them something to take some ownership over. Like you said, they own and maintain their story, and they recognize that they can step forward into this new story.
Yes.
And then I just love that you're there to come alongside them and help them realize what barriers they may encounter and how to overcome them as they ideate about the possibilities, so that when it's time for them to actually step into it, they feel better equipped and more confident in their ability to do so.
Yes. And that confidence is so exciting to see on their faces, because there's also a post-prison program. So we get to continue to work with them. And it's wonderful when you start to see the products and services that they put together. So yeah, truly leading with purpose outside of the prison system. Even those inside that are going to be lifers, oftentimes they become mentors.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You bet.
So Dr. Robinson, we have to talk about these top 5 from CliftonStrengths. I said, okay, it looks like you have everything, maybe with the exception of one of the 5 things. So Achiever, which is in the executing thing, strategic, so strategic thinking, maximizer, positivity, and relator, influencing, and of course, relationship building, like huge, right? So with this unique blend of these top five strengths, I can tell that you are high performing, you're forward thinking, you use drive, vision, optimism, all the things. Connection is big with you. And you use that to bring out the best in yourself and others. My question is, how do you use these strengths and how do they show up day to day in the work of your coaching?
Ooh, yes. Yes. So within my coaching practice, the way I see Achiever often show up, and I would say in combination with strategic, is to really get at the heart of what is that person's intended goal or outcome long term, but also for that immediate session, so that we're walking away with a strategy that they've come up with that I can then support. And I really do feel like more of that cheerleader, so to speak, for them with the positivity, because I love seeing the improvements they make time and again, and just to encourage them. Oh, you've got this. You can do it. And I also see the strategic come in towards the end when we're getting into their action planning, because I love a plan B. And so a question I might ask them is, what might you do if you, incur an obstacle along the way with this intended action? Or what might be a plan B that you could put in place? And so I see how my themes show up in the way that I coach so that they have another, I would say, fallback plan. And I love putting that into action. Love having them think about their future, the future implications of even what they're putting into place. So if it's a leader, let's think about the action that you have and how that's going to have an impact on your management team, how it's going to have an impact on your team. Let's think about what's happening in the workforce overall, which a lot of leaders are interested in, and some of the outcomes and goals you have. Let's look at where there's some alignment there or where you might see some integration. And then with Maximizer, I'm always looking for ways to make my best better. And the way that shows up in coachees is that I always see potential. I always see potential in people. And I always hope that at the end of a call, they know how valued they are and they recognize the potential within themselves.
I absolutely love that. When you have Maximizer and Achiever in your top 5, I'm like, whoa.
Good, better, best.
Right. You are really pushing these people to the next level is really what I see in that description of you. So thank you for that and for sharing more insight on what that actually looks like, while you're coaching.
Yes.
So I want to bring both Dr. Sharon's question and Dawn's question kind of back together, because you talked about finding your why. You talked about these at-risk populations. You talked about someone who's not leaving the prison where they are. So how do you take your 5 strengths, finding your why, and motivate these individuals? Maybe share a story about, something that you did, because that's amazing that you're able to help them go from point A to point Z. Just tell us the story about how you were able to do that. That's awesome.
Yes. I definitely take a strengths-based approach in the either in the prison system, if I'm able to go in and visit, and we're typically there for the day, or whether it's virtual and we've got the post-release folks that we're working with and doing some business coaching for. So what I tend to do is I'll ask questions of them. And if it's in the prison system, I'll start to ask questions about, when you were a child, what were some of your hobbies and interests that you had? And as an example, one loved horses, and I can't remember if his family had a horse or if he was in a neighborhood where there were horses and he had the job where he got to brush them and groom them. But because he loved it so much, and it also just kept him calm, given the wonderful energy the horses have, that was one of the ideas that he had moving forward was, I want to do something where I can visit the elderly where they don't have necessarily the energy to be able to groom their horses and take care of them. And one of the questions I had asked him was, is that a population that you really gravitate towards, that you feel comfortable with? When you think about that comfort level and who would be a good business need? And he said, yes, I always had good relationships with my grandparents, and I gravitate towards them, and they seem to be so appreciative. And so I'll ask a lot of questions about their childhood joy, or what tends to give them a lot of energy, so we can start to really specify that business interest. And then going into the population, where is that comfort level for you as you think about having to pitch your product or your service? And then after that, in terms of potential, we're looking at their resumes. They're coming to us with their business pitch. And so I can see the maximizer ticking, and I'm helping them think about ways they can tweak it, or questions they might want to consider that a potential customer might be asking them. And then I think the relator really comes up, because I really love being authentic and genuine. It's a core value to have authentic, genuine connections and relationships. and to leave an authentic life. And so I think that shows up too. One, in literally showing up to the prison, and they go, "Oh my gosh, you came again. We're so happy. We're so thrilled you're here." But then just showing up and being present in that conversation with them, and being curious and excited for them.
Yeah, I just admire, first of all, I love that you call it Shark Tank, because these little ideas that germ up and turn into something. I mean, as entrepreneurs, Dawn, Sharon, and myself, we've all are entrepreneurial. It's just exciting to see. I didn't even know this existed. So I'm just like thrilled that you're on our show talking about this today.
So fun. It's so fun. And I feel you all with the entrepreneurship. It's such a joy to have your own practice, I think, isn't it? Or your own service offering, and to be able to go out there. And so to bring that energy to them too is just so much fun.
And you wish you could be there for their first sale or their first call. Yes. Right.
Yes. You remember what that was like?
Exactly.
Or the hardships, and you're like, "You got this. You can do it."
So we have quite a unique profile, interestingly aligned. I have maximizer, positivity, and strategic as well. So I find that very fascinating when I like see a mirror of myself in certain ways that you're responding. I'm like, I feel very seen in this conversation. I wanted to hear a little bit more about your doctoral program and your work with refugees. What comes back for me is really, what did you learn about humanity and leadership through that experience that you could offer our audience today?
Yes. I have seen it, I would say, transition over into the corporate world. From a leadership perspective, I think anytime that you are organizing a research study and you've got to take the lead and go out there and scout out an organization that you can join. And in this case, I was looking for refugee nonprofits that could support me in finding the right participants to do this experience. So that provided me with the leadership experience that I could then bring into, at the time when I was working at Gallup on some of the research studies we did, where I felt really comfortable helping to manage research studies or surveys that we were conducting. And then I would say, from the application perspective, with coaching and consulting, I think what the research study really did for me was just drill down on how everyone has their unique lived experience, and to really respect and honor it. And then also to know that there's going to be these more superordinate themes that you can see across a population. And that gives us a lot of knowledge too that we can then work with. And so when I think about the work that I currently do and that I've done over the last decade, when I think about employee engagement, that's where the research study really comes in handy to say, from an organization perspective, we can look at your data and we can see some big trends happening across the workplace. This is what you've got your, organization feeling they're thriving in. They're really connected to the mission and purpose, and they feel cared about as an individual. But here's an area of opportunity. There's not a lot of clarity on what they should be doing when they come into the workforce. Let's think about some questions we can ask individually, or start looking at these different teams to see what each of them needs and how they want to respond. And then take it a level further and have one-on-one conversations and ask each individual, what is it that's going to engage you in the workforce? And so that's for me what was so applicable coming out of the research that I could apply immediately into leadership and organizational consulting, and even coaching within the corporate world. I hope that makes sense too.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting to think about when we think about the human story, right? I was talking to a researcher last week that focuses on trauma-informed approaches in higher education spaces. Mm-hmm. And what she was acknowledging is that even though people have, on the face of it, a shared experience, their experience of it is different, because it is how they recall it, how they experienced it from their perspective. And you bring everything that you've had in life, or everything you've experienced up to that moment, into that shared experience. And so really what you're calling forward is this idea that we have a shared work environment with some of the same people, but are very human inside of that, experiences it differently. Yes. And so there may be themes across the groups of people or the different departments, or some things that are bubbling to the surface that are actionable for everyone. Yes. But there's always going to be the uniqueness of the individual and how they are experiencing that environment, that place, that space, that leader that needs to be attended to as well.
Yes. And that's where we start getting into cultural intelligence, which was such a big piece of the international psychology doctoral program I was in, which is to say we all carry dual or multiple identities. If we think about a family unit, we can be a sibling, a partner, and a child. And that superordinate unit we're all a part of is family, but we have different roles within it. And it's similar to an organization. We all carry different roles when we walk in there. And it doesn't mean that our identity leaves at the door. We're carrying our personality and our culture with us, along with our team role and our independent role. And so it's wonderful to really get curious and appreciate those lived experiences everybody has, and then tend to those super themes with a team or an organization, so to speak. But look at it from all levels, right? Organization, team, and individual.
Yep. No, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Dr. Robinson, your mission is to elevate people and celebrate culture. And I love that. What does that look like in action?
Oh, yes. Well, in literal action, it means I like to travel to different countries and really get a feel for culture, so that when we think about cultural intelligence, I feel even more aware of how a nation functions, how an organization functions, how individuals I talk to in the Uber or at a restaurant, what they like to do. And all of that I like to carry with me into the workforce. So that's one way that I love celebrating culture, is to become immersed in a culture and what can I learn from it and take with me, whether it's research, community, or workplace or personal driven. And then I would say elevating people. I hope every single time I leave a conversation with somebody, they feel more energy and not less energy. I hope they see their potential and they know that I believe in their value and potential. If it's coaching or consulting, or we, get this longer conversation and I can just pick somebody's brain at that personal level and we get more talking time. And I would also say it's, when I think about elevating people, it would even amount to elevating an organization. And how do we do that? By engaging all of your people within it so that they feel like they're thriving and they're not just coming in and clocking out and surviving.
Wow. I was just right before we came on, I was talking with my Isha, and traveling is not one of my things that I like doing. But when you say that the immersing yourself in the culture, that is the one thing that I regret me not desiring to do all these wonderful things. And I believe it's one reason why now I'm an avid reader, so that I can at least experience the culture through words and through photos and things of that nature. So I definitely applaud that, because I know it's nothing like experiencing that yourself, to actually celebrate the many wonderful things that you can get from other cultures.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love books too. I'm with you. It's like we can travel.
Yes, that's my means of unfortunately, yes, but I love that you said that, because that is the part that I feel like I'm missing out on, to actually be in the presence of what it is and where you are, and taking on the local, the local environment. So I love that. So thank you for that.
Of course. I will say it's been helpful in coaching and consulting across industries and across the world, because it gives us some conversation, and
absolutely,
there's a place to say, oh yeah, I love that place, or I love this food. You've been?
Yes.
So
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good
you.
And I don't want to put a damper on this conversation, because you are giving me energy, but I just have to ask, because where we are right now, I'm sure we'll be here in 5 years when people are listening to the podcast is a lot of fear,
Yes.
a lot of uncertainty and doubt, right? My organization is a nonprofit. We're dealing with big changes coming down the pipe that we're trying to prepare for. What can we do, organizations and leaders, to keep celebrating our people, to keep celebrating our culture when we're just like, what's happening, what's going on?
Yes. From a leadership perspective, within my own practice, Nine Muses, I still pull in a lot of Gallup advice and analytics in combination with other research, but I really love focusing on the 4 needs of followers. And essentially, the basis for it was to say, what draws followers to a leader? Particularly during times of change, we're seeking these 4 needs even more. And so hope is to say, as a leader, how are you communicating with your teams or a manager to let them know that the future is going to be brighter than today? Oftentimes, you can bring that back to values and our mission. Even though the world is changing, even though we might feel like we're in the eye of the storm, what do we know to be true? We can often drill back to our mission or our values and what we're doing in the service of others. And that not only gives us hope, but it ties to stability because it gives us just enough to go, oh, okay, our role might change, or we might lose some budgets, or we might see some people leave, but our purpose remains the same. Our values are still the same. That gives me at least something to tether to. And when we're transparent and vulnerable to that degree, it can also build trust. So the more we're communicating during these times of change, the better. Even if it's to say, I don't know what I don't know, or I know we've had some layoffs and that's been a big struggle. And I know a lot of you are feeling shaken by it. This is the path we hope to see moving forward. And then that last is compassion. And that's a bit of that when you lead with vulnerability and you just acknowledge the elephant in the room or the emotions people have. We care about you. What I've seen some really great managers do, and it takes courage, is they will leave open space in a team meeting, 10 minutes just to say, okay, what would you all like to just get off your chest today? What would you like to unpack? And oftentimes what they'll do is they'll couple it to say, what's a win and a success we've had, and what's something you just want to get off your chest. And they'll do that in a team meeting or at the end of the day before they go home so that they feel like they can just get it out in the open before they shut down their computers, they walk out the door. But I think if managers and leaders can really focus on those 4, it's been incredibly helpful in the way that they then communicate and keep the team feeling engaged or teams feeling engaged.
Thank you. We just started that, not unburden yourself, but tell us what you need at this moment that all of us can help you with or just listen to. So absolutely, with compassion, communication is so key.
Yes. And benefits too. If we think about HR benefits, a lot of people don't know what might exist, and they might have 10 free coaching sessions through their benefits package or 10 free therapy sessions. And so also whenever we're going through a lot of compound trauma or turmoil, whether it's in the industry or within the world, it can be a great reminder for managers and leaders to say, hey, you don't have to be knowledgeable in this, but who do you know in HR? So you can just share some of those highlights with your team and they know there's support out there.
I feel better. Thank you.
Yeah. So I noticed on your website, when I went to your shop section, that you have some brilliant, beautiful tools and resources there, many of which I've seen, as I do have my own practice at home, for mindfulness and journaling and such. But one of the things I thought was beautiful, and I would love for you to just share more with our audience, it seems that you are elevating the work of others in that section of your site. I would expect that is done intentionally. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the tools and why you chose them?
Yes. I really wanted to have books and reflection cards and other tools where people could really think about their mindfulness and their well-being. And I was really drawn to those companies. Many of them might be women-led. And then there's a company that I partner with in London. And you all can't see it, but off to the side of my screen, there's a little postcard. And they said, Jaclynn, thank you for partnering with us this year. And it's there just because I love small business shops, women-led shops, individuals that are also focusing on elevating people through purpose, well-being, and performance. And the ones that I specifically chose this year, in terms of products and services, and I'll continue to have moving forward as well, by the way, were something I really thought about in terms of like the pivot year, as an example. That's one of the books in the workshop, or in my shop. And the reason for that is because so many people are thinking about, how do I pivot? It feels like such a massive step to have to take in my personal or professional life. And I love that the pivot year is day by day. Just take it one day at a time, one step at a time, words of encouragement. When I think about the reflection cards, just pulling them out for yourself and thinking about that one question to kick off your morning, or to journal for those that love journaling. The other piece of having the shop was because I work with so many coaches and consultants, and we're partnering together or we're running our workshops, I wanted to have some tools that we could actually incorporate in our workshops. But it wasn't just so facilitation specific that it couldn't be used by a participant afterwards to say, I really like that we did this activity and we were able to use the mindfulness cards. Can I have them for myself? Yes, you can have them for yourself and spread the love. And so I was intentional about finding some products and services that spoke to my values, elevating people, focusing on well-being, purpose, and performance, but that individuals could use, teams can use, and fellow coaches and consultants could also use.
I love it. And it was just such a thoughtful way to curate a set of tools. And it did very much feel aligned with all that you've shared today, and recognizing the value that the individual can have outside of a workshop environment to curate a practice at home with any one of those resources, or use the book as a guide to help them day by day. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jaclynn Robinson, it has been amazing having you as our guest today, and we would love to just give you this space to share where can our audience connect with you, where can they follow you, and find out all the great things that you have upcoming.
Yes, please feel free to connect with me. I am on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/n/Jaclynn Robinson. You can also find me on Instagram, and that's where my clients will say, if you want to see where I'm going, where's Jaclynn in the world today? Instagram is where I put a lot of my travel photos, and in that space, you'll really see how I incorporate moving across the world and pulling in well-being and purpose within that same space. And so my Instagram tag is Dr. Jaclynn Robinson, all one word. And Jaclynn is spelled Jaclynn for anyone listening in. And I'm available on my website too, www.jaclynnrobinson.com. And I have a contact form. So if any of you are interested in coaching or consulting or workshops, or you just have questions, I love hearing from individuals. And that's, of course, where you'll also see my shop.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Again, we thank you for being our guest today. And to our audience, we thank you as well for joining us for another episode of Leading with Purpose. And again, I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
I am Maisha B. Hoy.
And I'm Dawn Marie Bornheimer. As you navigate your leadership journey, remember that leading with purpose is not just a philosophy, but a commitment to making a positive impact.
Continue to empower, inspire, and achieve.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your network, and don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss an opportunity to explore the intersection of leadership and purpose.
Until next time, lead with passion.
Lead with a positive intention.
And by all means, continue to lead with purpose. Thank you for joining the Leading with Purpose podcast. Please join us every Monday for a new episode.